Welcome into the Warzone Sports Network. Man, we are jacked here. We are going to be doing the AFC West predictions going through. We got an accumulation of them. We are so excited. Football's back. Mac Jones is out there slinging it. Chase Young is taking off the head of Cam Newton. And breaking news, everybody. Head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers came out and said that this Saturday, the 2021 NFL MVP is not playing.
And we on the radio, coming to your locale. Got into the third round, better bring the smoke now. Step into the war zone. 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 Friday night war zone. Friday night war zone. Step into the 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 war zone. Friday night war zone. Friday night war zone.
Mike.
What? I wanted to let it hang for a second. I
don't know what that was.
Let it sit into all the people watching at home.
It was just like it was bad. It was bad.
I was not saying another word after that. Ladies and gentlemen, I just called second-year quarterback Justin Herbert the future MVP of the league. Anyways, welcome in. If it is your first time here, please go ahead and think about smashing that subscribe button, following us on Twitter, wherever it is. We appreciate everybody who comes through here, talk sports. Go ahead in the chat and throw up your predictions for the AFC West. Let us know if you're a fan of any of these teams. As you can see, you got a couple Charger fans and a Raiders fan in the house. We're just going to be mowing through, kind of giving our overall thoughts on this division. I think it's probably the second best division in football, maybe even the first. I could make that argument. But where are we starting, Mike?
Denver. We're going to go opposite of the standings last year. So fourth place, the Broncos came in fourth. Injury-riddled season, obviously, last year for them. But this is a very positive graphic for Broncos fans. The only real key departure, Philip Lindsay. I mean, he contributed over the last couple of years. The rest of the guys were real no-name guys that left the team that aren't going to be very productive wherever they went, may not even make rosters wherever they went. But anyway, so that's the key departures. But additions, on the other hand, they get Ronald Darby, a guy who's a big part of that Washington football defensive breakout last year. They get Kendall Fuller, who's been a stable in the Chicago Bears secondary for the last couple of seasons. And they drafted Patrick Surtain II, another cornerback. And then they traded for Teddy Bridgewater because I think they know something that I know. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure we're going to talk about it. And they also drafted Javonte Williams. It seems like the Broncos are getting rid of all their bad players, Drew Lock and Melvin Gordon, and bringing in some newer guys, which I like to see.
They haven't got rid of Drew Lock yet, so I don't know what you're talking about. Melvin Gordon's still there.
They're working on replacing him, is what I'm saying.
Mike, we need you to be unbiased today. Like,
how am I being biased?
With your Charger fandom, let them know. We all know that you hate Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon and the Denver Broncos are going to be okay. This is actually, like Tony said, this division right here is actually one of the best divisions in the NFL, like it or not. And all four of these teams are going to pick up some wins. And this is where we were talking about with the other divisions, like, we're going to have to put our wins somewhere. This is where I'm putting all my wins for the AFC right here. Just a little spoiler.
Oh,
I do think that when you look at this division, you've got two, one quarterback's an MVP. One of them's on the rise. He's the toast of the town. And the other one, maybe one of the more underrated quarterbacks in Las Vegas, right? I'm going to give Joe a little bit of love here, and Raiders fans, like, Derek Carr really takes a little bit more heat than I think is deserved. Now, where the reason that I can't say this is the best division is because, like what Mike said, is that Drew Lock might be the starting quarterback of that team. And whether it's health or poor decisions, people come out, they go, oh, well, he worked with Peyton Manning this offseason. Sure. And maybe he will be great. I don't know what that means. Adam Gase coached with Peyton Manning. It's just like standing next to him. You don't get better by osmosis. You don't just stand next to him and absorb through that giant forehead all of Peyton Manning's greatness by being next to him. That's just not how life works. I do love the defensive additions that this team made. And I think they have a lot of talent at the skill position. And if you told me today that Teddy Bridgewater was going to start for them 17 games, they weren't going to mess around with Drew Lock at all, my prediction actually probably would have been a little bit higher, because the offense really does look good. And you can run the ball, and they have weapons to get the ball, in the passing game.
I agree with that, Tony, and Joe was saying that those guys aren't out yet. They will be out if the Broncos want to succeed, right? What do you guys agree? Melvin Gordon, probably a bottom 10 starting running back in the NFL right now. Drew Lock?
I'll give you the Melvin Gordon because I'm a big Javonte Williams.
You got Drew Lock inside the top 20?
But I'm not gonna hate on Drew Lock right now. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna sink to your level, Mike, because I think you need to give Drew Lock a little chance and let him prove it. There's a lot of guys coming back healthy for these Denver Broncos, and that's what we're forgetting. Courtland Sutton was out all of last year. Now you put him back. You give him this number one wide receiver. I think Drew Lock's going to be all right. Javonte Williams is the starting running back I want to see. Jerry Jeudy, I don't know if you guys have watched like any highlights on him in training camp. The dude can run some routes. Like, I think, Mike, you did a whole breakdown on him as well. I'm kind of iffy about this offensive line, and it's something that you might want to correct in this division, because I know the Raiders bolstered up their defensive line. The Chargers have their defensive line, and the Chiefs have theirs. But this offensive line is going to be a little bit worrisome, but I think they're going to get rid of the ball. But the weapons on this offense is why they were able to go get defensive players in this draft or in the offseason. You know what I mean? Bradley Chubb's coming back. He's always hit and miss. They got Shelby Harris on the defensive line. Von Miller, we'll see what he can do this year after being back. And they got Kyle Fuller. Like how they added Kyle Fuller and why the Bears had to let that guy go like is ridiculous. So they added Kyle Fuller, and then they went out and go, you know what? We're not done. I know we got Kyle Fuller and Ronald Darby, but might as well add Patrick Surtain Jr. too, right? Or second, or whatever he goes by. I like the Denver Broncos. I can't go and lie. This team is scary, and on paper, pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. And even in the chat here, Big Ballers Cards, thank you for hopping in here. Fant is a beast. He really is. He's one of those guys that like you just want to see it click. Again, I don't think that what Mike and I are doing, I don't know, you can judge Mike for himself. I'm not hating on Drew Lock. I'm just going based on what I've seen. And when I've seen him excel the most, it is usually in garbage time late in games. And every time I thought he was going to play good, he stunk it up, especially at the beginning of games. I'm not sold on them being like a potential playoff team if he's the starter. Now, he could prove me wrong, and I have no problem eating my words about any player that I'm a little down on or not really there for. But he's just one that I'm like, I think the team would be better with a game manager, whatever that means, with like Teddy Bridgewater, getting the ball to Fant, Jeudy in those routes, taking a couple deep shots, because he has the arm strength to do so, getting the ball out there to Courtland Sutton, Hamler's speed. That's just where I would like to see the team go, is in the Bridgewater direction.
Other than the offensive line, and I have the same concerns Joe's has with the offensive line, I think their run game is going to struggle a little bit this year. Numbers-wise, you're going to see Javonte Williams get a ton of work later on in the year. But I have similar concerns as both of you have. I am hating on Drew Lock. It's official. I'm a Drew Lock hater, but I only hate him because he sucks. I mean, it makes sense, right? The reason that he looks even decent on film, in the numbers and everything, when Courtland Sutton's on the field, and the reason it's so important that Courtland Sutton stays on the field is because Courtland Sutton is a bad quarterback's best friend. He mosses people. When you make a bad pass, you just throw the ball up in the air. Jerry Jeudy's not that style, and that's why you guys are going to love my highlight player. But we'll go with Tony's first.
Well, let's hit it. Noah Fant. That is what Big Ballers Cards said. I agree. I think that whoever's at quarterback, this guy has the ability to be their best friend, has the ability for them on third downs to get conversions, to win his matchups. And I really think that, like, I don't know what's going to happen with the running game. We've said that we're a little down on Melvin Gordon or whatever. Like, his best days are behind him, and his best days may even be questionable to some. Like, Noah Fant is a guy that I think will be reliable, can be open. If he can stay healthy, whoever is at quarterback there is going to be able to use him to really have success in this offense. And I hope that he strings together a full 17-game season and we can really see what this kid can do.
Are we? Wait, hold on. Are we serious right now?
What? Noah Fant? What's bad? What's wrong with picking Noah Fant?
No, you have Aaron Rodgers on the
I'm about to
screen
go.
Highlighted. Mike.
You're going to get to know Aaron Rodgers very well as a fellow AFC West fan.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't wear Denver Bronco gear last time I checked.
Yet is the key word. Y-E-T.
Mike, you're like the only one that's continuing this Aaron Rodgers bullcrap.
Okay. Wait.
Packers.
I don't want him on the Broncos. I just want to point that out. I just wanted to highlight the quarterback without highlighting the quarterback of the Broncos. Anyways, this says highlight player, and you chose a coach. So fair play. Here we go. Anyways, I like your choice, Tony, of Noah Fant. And people have said that he's a little inconsistent, and that's because what number is Drew Lock wear again? I don't even know what number he wears. 4, 6, 69? I don't even know what number he wears. But whatever number Drew Lock wears is inconsistent. That's what's leading to Noah Fant being inconsistent. I have Aaron Rodgers as my highlight player because I feel like with either Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, any of the quarterbacks that have been rumored to be on the trade block going in the next offseason, the Denver Broncos are a 12-win team. The Denver Broncos are a 13-win team. Denver Broncos are going to have a top 5 defense this year, fellas. Any objections? They are a quarterback away from contending in the AFC, and they need to go ahead and do that. They need to do that next season because this roster is so built up. It is so perfectly constructed. It needs a consistent, reliable quarterback, and that's not Teddy Bridgewater. That's not Drew Lock.
Wow. Big Baller Cards just said, didn't he just sign an extension? Yes. He's going to be in Green Bay. Mike's.
No, he's not. No.
Fat Addicts Fix said, it's getting crazy in here. Yes. Mike's. He's crazy. He's crazy, guys. It's okay. It's all right. Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Green Bay, and then we'll forget about this. Next year, we'll use the same graphic, and then we'll talk about it. So you'll be all right. We'll just keep this graphic.
Okay, we'll keep it. Talk about Vic Fangio for a second.
Vic Fangio is my guy because Vic Fangio, I think towards the end of some games, he gets very, very conservative, and he doesn't allow his team to thrive. And I think that cost a lot of games here in the late, because they'll be up like 13-10, and he'll just start playing prevent, start playing some other run the ball. No, put that foot on the gas, Vic Fangio, and get it done. Your job is on the line this year. I don't know how many more years or another season that they're going to take in Denver of Vic Fangio and going, you know what? He's a great defensive coach. He's lost some tough games. No, this is the year that you need to put it on. You need to step down and you need to let your team go in the fourth quarter. And don't get scared. Don't pull back a little bit. Let them do it. Let them go.
Yeah, I'm much closer to Mike on this one, actually. Like, I really do think that if this team had Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers there, I do believe, though, there is an opportunity for this defense. If they can stay healthy, you're looking at a team like maybe the Bucs that won the Super Bowl, not this past one, but with Brad Johnson, or maybe that, the Trent Dilfer Ravens, like a defense that is like that still has the playmaking ability. I don't really see, like, they had a better running game, obviously, on that early Ravens team. I think they ran the ball pretty well on that Bucs team, too. I don't know if the running game will be that strong, but I think Teddy is smart enough. Move the ball, don't turn it over, let the defense just swarm and kill and crush people. But I think we are probably pretty close to moving on to the next team. Who's next on the list?
We're going to actually head to Kansas City next up, Tony, and talk about some of their key departures and key additions. The rich get richer, right? Anyways, they lost a lot of their offensive line in Mitchell Schwartz, who's still unsigned. Eric Fisher's heading to Indianapolis to help them out with their offensive line, who's dealing with injuries of their own. And then Damian Williams left the team. He's in Chicago now. He's been a running back for them the last couple of years. And Sammy Watkins, obviously, they couldn't afford to keep him one more year. They did the 1-year deal thing last year. It just got to a point where it was too much for him. He went to Baltimore to help out their passing game a little bit. But then you go down and look at the key additions, and this is why I hate the Chiefs. They got stronger. They add all-pro tackle in Orlando Brown via trade. They get Joe Thuney, another guy who's a Pro Bowler. Creed Humphrey in, I believe, was the 3rd round or end of the 2nd round. Absolutely ridiculous. Probably the best center available in last year's draft class. And they also signed Mike Hughes, who's been a serviceable corner for the Vikings. And then in the 2nd round, the one that I like the least, because of how good of a pick it was, they get Nick Bolton, a linebacker who I think was very underrated in last year's analysis of the prospects for the draft. That's the key additions and the key departures for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that this 14-2 team got better, guys.
I don't know if they got better, but they definitely like closed up the holes from the Super Bowl, right? Like the offensive line, that was one of the fastest like fixes that I've ever seen. I remember being like 1 week, they just got crushed. The line was exploited by a great Bucs team. And then all of a sudden they're like, they got this guy, they signed this guy. Oh, and they got this guy in the 3rd round of the draft. And now all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes is back upright. And that's what we see with good organizations. We don't see that with teams like the Bengals or whatever. They're at least addressing the spots there. And when you still have Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't matter who's out there as your weapons. It's nice to have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, but I am under the impression that Mecole Hardman could step in and be a 1,200-yard receiver as long as Patrick Mahomes is wheeling and dealing the ball. I think CEH, I can't remember who I have as my highlighted player, but I honestly think that this guy is going to have a monster 2nd year in the NFL.
Can I call some bullshit right here? I want to call some bullshit on this offensive line. Everybody has been, the main storyline has been the Raiders offensive line, and the Chiefs went out and did the exact same thing. They got rid of 1st round draft picks that were hurt last year, and then they bring in these guys. The offensive line, okay, I'll give you Orlando Brown, but Orlando Brown's not a solid guy. He's good. He's not elite. There's a reason Baltimore got rid of him and didn't want to keep him, right? Joe Thuney, yeah, he's good. I'll give you that. But the other side, that right side of the offensive line, come on. And you're going to say this is a great offensive line? They brought in Kyle Long. He's already done. He's already hurt. We'll see if he comes back later on. But I'm not giving this off. I'm not going, this is a offensive line. Oh, Patrick Mahomes is not going to run for his life anymore. I call bullshit. He's going to be running and running and running again. They filled up a little bit, but basically they put a Band-Aid on and it's still a rainstorm coming. There's still a rainstorm coming. It's going to knock that Band-Aid off. I'm just saying. That's all I wanted to say about that offensive line.
In a Band-Aid analogy, it would have been they got their jugular sliced and they tried to fix it with a Band-Aid. Rainstorms and Band-Aids.
Both funny.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Maybe he jumped in the pool with the Band. I don't know, Tony. I'm live here on the air talking about Band-Aids, and Band-Aids don't stick on me. I don't know.
Both Funny and Orlando Brown are multi-time Pro Bowlers, probably top 10 at their position, respectively. Those guys are both on the edge of elite. I'll give you that. I mean, they're almost elite. Very, 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 very good additions. Creed Humphrey is a big question mark, and is he even going to start at center? So I will give you that. And on the other side of the line, obviously the Kyle Long thing did not work out. But I think that the offensive line, for the most part, is going to be better than last year's offensive line. They replaced Schwartz and Fisher for 2 young, hungry Pro Bowl level players, for 2 old veterans that were about to retire anyway.
Keep that in mind. Keep that same energy, Mike.
What, did you bring in Pro Bowlers to Las Vegas? I don't think so.
Keep that same energy. But let's look at this defense.
Lost Pro Bowlers.
We all know what Kansas City is on offense. We know that Patrick Mahomes, he don't need an offensive line.
Yeah,
he's gonna make everybody great around him. But that defense, are we sold on the defense still? Like, I'm looking at their depth chart and I'm looking at the cornerback position. I'm looking at the linebackers and I'm like, ugh. I know they have this is their saving grace, is they have Chris Jones and they have Frank Clark. And those guys get to you. And so when you're not giving the other quarterback any time, of course, they're just going to throw it up and you're going to make your defense look good. But if this defense has to go against a quarterback that has a great offensive line.
Yeah, to me, that's the difference between the Chiefs, winning 1, 2, or 3 Super Bowls and winning, that 5, 6 that a lot of people projected for them when they won that first one, is can they keep this defense at least average? with the salary cap, with everything that's going on, they got to keep this defense at least average. You end up in a situation like they have in Seattle, or end up with a situation like they have in other places like Tennessee, where you have the superhuman offense, but the defense is just god awful. I mean, what are you going to do? Las Vegas, they got a problem like that. I mean, just what are you going to do, right? Patrick Mahomes can't play defense. He can't play middle linebacker.
Well, let me put this out there, because in a way, I think he doesn't play defense, obviously, but his ability, the offense's ability to pour it on so thick, is the best friend of that defense, because they get to pin their ears back a lot more, because the team, even when the team has a little bit of a lead, they still feel like, oh no, the Chiefs could score 28 points in a quarter. We have to keep trying to push. We have to keep trying being aggressive. That gives their defense more opportunities to make plays, because you never want to just play slow or safe against the Chiefs, because they could go 3 drives in a row and score on you 3 times in 4 plays, and all of a sudden they have a lead again. So I think Mahomes doesn't play defense, but the style the Chiefs play is such a friend to that defense being average. It allows them to be better because the other team's offense feels so much pressure to keep up with the Chiefs' offensive side of the ball.
Same old sports said, don't forget about the honey badger back there.
But don't you worry, same old sports. Don't you worry one bit. Tony, go ahead and highlight the least important player on this team.
CEH to me has the ability to add to make it unfair to play against Patrick Mahomes, right? Like when he is, if he can run for, or just be like Kareem Hunt was for them a few years ago, like it'll be, the offense will be almost unstoppable, whether they can run the ball, the offensive line, or if he can be as good in the pass game as maybe some of us thought that he could be, right? Like when he was coming out of college, that was one of the things that was there. And if he can also get better with like picking up the blitz, like he looked a little confusing sometimes. You want him to be able to stay out there and trust him for 3 downs. I just think that he would add a dimension that we've seen with Andy Reid teams really like excel. If you think back to the Brian Westbrook days in Philadelphia, like that was one thing that was really outstanding about those NFC East championship game runs, was Brian Westbrook being able to stay on the field for 3 downs, dominating the passing game and the running game for so long.
I like it. I like the take. Anyways, I chose Tyrann Mathieu because the day that Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, starts to regress or falls off, and if they don't have a replacement for him ready to go, is the day that this Chiefs defense is going to enter being bad. You know what I mean? They've been average the last couple of years, which is good enough when you have the offense, when you have Patrick Mahomes, like Tony Tucker was saying. They've been opportunistic, which is kind of the name of the Honey Badgers game, being an opportunistic type of free safety. But when they lose Tyrann Mathieu, whether it's just the cap doesn't work out anymore or he just falls off at some point because defensive backs don't last that long in the NFL, who's the next guy in this secondary that can go and cover Darren Waller, that can cover guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, that can go and cover guys like Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton? There isn't anyone. They lost Bashaud Breeland in free agency, which isn't that big of a loss, but to the Chiefs, he's a key part of this secondary, and he's one of those opportunistic, I'm having a hard time saying that word, style players. So the day they lose the Honey Badger, to whatever the cause may be, is the day I start to look at them and say that secondary is actually really, really weak. And he's the only thing that's really holding them together and keeping some kind of strength in the secondary. Joe, you also want to talk about the least important player on this team. Interesting. Go ahead.
Well, it's not the least important. You're thinking it is because, Mike, what we're thinking is the Chiefs are already a great team. And this is what me and Tony think. When you get CEH going, unstoppable. Then you're unstoppable. But until you get him going, you're still kind of one-dimensional on that offense. And that's what allows teams to stay in there. But if you can get the running game going, and then you're like, you put up 28 points, and then you start running the ball on them, and they can't come back, it's over. So that's why I want to see CEH do his thing. He doesn't really have a backup this year. They kept trying to bring people in. He's going to do it. He's going to be able to do it all by himself. And he catches the ball. So I want to say, I'm probably wrong, but I want to say he led the league, or he was high up there in red zone carries last year, and he only had 1 touchdown. So they were feeding them the ball last year in the end zone or in the red zone. He just wasn't getting in. Now he has a better offensive line, as you guys say, so he should be able to eat.
You can't poop on the offensive line and then say CH is going to eat because the offensive line 2 seconds later.
I just said keep that same energy. That's all I
Oh,
said.
we're going to keep the energy. Don't worry. I got a whole list of Raiders crap to bring up. But anyways, I say he's the least important player on this team is because you could plug anyone into that spot just about. They've used about 3 different guys with the last name Williams over the last couple of years, and they've been effective and won Super Bowls. So I don't feel like CEH needs to be the guy that's there. They can't do it without CEH. I think just that position in general doesn't require anyone specific. So I like that you guys highlighted that the run game in general is important to Kansas City.
Okay, good. I'm glad we made that clarification because I'm not saying that CEH is the thing. I'm saying he's in that position and he needs to take it to the next level for them to succeed at an ultimate level.
Yes.
Is that a nay-nay?
Watch him nay-nay. Let's get on to a good team. Let's get on to one of the great teams.
Keep that energy, Mike. Who do we got next?
Guess
Mike,
who?
go ahead
and say it. Who we got? We got the Raiders.
Here are the key departures and additions for the Las Vegas Raiders. Such a good team. Came in second in the division last year at 8-8. Congratulations, Joe, for your second place finish and no playoff berth after starting like 6-2 or something crazy. Anyways, key departures, Rodney Hudson, one of the best centers in the game over the last 10 years. They decided they're going to move on from him. I know that they're trying to get a infusion of youth into the offensive line. So you saw Trent Brown and Gabe Jackson on their way out as well to their own prospective locations in New England and Seattle. And then their leading receiver last year, Nelson Aguilar, is heading to New England as well to help them out. He's probably playing right now as we speak, catching passes from Mac Jones. Key additions. There is a lot of quantity, but I bring the argument to the table, not much quality. Casey Hayward going to Las Vegas from Los Angeles, kind of just finishing his career off probably here in Las Vegas. He will be a good addition to their cornerback room just for the experience thing. If anything, Kenyon Drake's going to back up Josh Jacobs throughout the year. That's a good 1-2 punch right there. Yannick Ngakoue trying to upgrade from, a mid-level pass rusher into the elite tier, whatever you want to call it. Willie Snead's going to Las Vegas, Alex Leatherwood, and Trayvon Mulrig. There were more additions, but this is what fit on the graphic for you guys. Go ahead. Talk about the Raiders. I'll just sit back and listen.
I'll start it, Tony. I'll start it because this is the team right here. This is the team and the only team besides the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Kansas City Chiefs last year with Patrick Mahomes on the field. Just to let you guys know that. Offense, it's going to be clicking. They were a top 10 offense. 11th offense. So I'm not going to say, if I say top 10, you're going to, he's lying. They were the 11th best offense last year with all of the problems that they had. That offensive line that everybody keeps saying that they blew up, it wasn't that great anyways. Now they bring in Alex Leatherwood. They have the bookend with Colton Miller. So they have 2 young right tackles and left tackles. They have Denzel Good. They have Richie Incognito. They have Andre James. Then they have a great backup. So the depth at offensive line is key to the Raiders. They have 2 great tight ends. If I know Tony gets mad because I said that Foster Moreau is going to bite it or eat into some of Darren Waller's touchdowns this year, but you'll watch it. I'm interested to see the wide receiver position. Henry Ruggs gained 12 pounds of muscle this offseason. They have Hunter Renfro. Brian Edwards is getting a lot of love. They have Willie Snead, Zay Jones, and John Brown as your little veterans back there. And then they brought in Kenyon Drake, who's going to be catching the ball out of the backfield, Mike. Here we go. But what's not getting a lot of love on the Raiders right now is the defense. They spent this whole offseason on defense. And Mike, I don't know if you did your research before the show, but the Raiders' defensive line is very underrated right now. Very underrated and could be one of the best defensive lines on paper going into the season with Ngakoue, Hankins, Jefferson, and Jared McCoy, Max Crosby, Clean Farrell, Solomon Thomas, if he makes the team. They have a great defensive line. I know you're laughing about it, but when Justin Herbert's laying on the ground looking at these guys, you're going to be crying a little bit. The Corey Littleton and Nicholas Morrow are making noise at linebacker. About time Littleton gets, he's going to finally be playing in the right system. And then the secondary. Woo! You know what? I don't even have to say much. Raiders!
You said a lot. Go ahead, Tony.
He did say a lot. Here's the thing. They've already shown promise the last 2 seasons, Joe. It's time to get over that late season hiccups that they have, where they lose for whatever reason it is. You want to blame it on schedule. They got to travel to the East Coast early in the morning, whatever the problems are. It can't be that way for a 3rd year in a row, or some bigger changes need to be made. Would you agree with that? Like if they head into that final 5-6 weeks of the season as a playoff team and don't make the playoffs, are you going to call for changes to this team?
Oh yes. If the Raiders have, like you said, they started 6-4 and 6-4, or 7-4 and 6-4, and then they missed the playoffs both years. If that happens again this year, yeah, heads will roll.
Good, because that is the thing to me. Is a lot of people want to badmouth the Raiders, or it's easy to make fun of them and jokes and whatever. I actually kind of like this team. I think they're headed in the right direction, and I have more faith in Derek Carr. I'd like to see Derek Carr be confident, I guess. Like I just don't see that. The same confidence I saw the year that he was, being in the MVP conversation before he suffered that horrific injury. I would like to see that one. And I'm going to need you to stop with the Foster Monroe love. I can almost get on board with everything except for when you talk about my favorite tight end in the league, Darren Waller, and Foster Monroe. Foster Monroe is doing nothing. He's not doing anything besides getting him a towel and a Gatorade and saying, "Good catch." Good catch, D-Dub.
Hold on to your bridges. Hold on to your bridges, Tony, because we're going to talk some Darren Waller in the next segment. But anyways, you just talked about all these guys the Raiders added this year, right? And I have this little thing I got written down, because I did do some research, unlike you said. 7 former Pro Bowlers in total left the team last year. 7 Pro Bowlers total were on the roster last year. 4 of those 7 left the team. How many do you think that they brought in?
Michael, are we talking about the Pro Bowl? The Pro Bowl doesn't mean crap in the
NFL. It does mean crap. It
Nobody
does mean
even
crap.
shows up to them.
So that means that you were one of the 3 best players that year at your position in that conference. So you have 0 guys on your roster right now who are top 3 in your entire conference, other than Darren Waller. Darren Waller is the guy that we're going to isolate and put to the side just because we like him, and we hope that he gets the hell out of there sometime soon. But anyways, the defensive line added Yannick Ngakoue, and all of a sudden I think you just described them as being like top 10 or something. I think that's where you were going with that. He's an 8-sack guy. He's average. He's consistent.
Every year?
8 sacks. That's cool. We'll take 8 sacks. That don't make you some elite O-line. He hasn't come in and demand a double team.
Are you not talking about Quentin Jefferson? Are you going to leave him
What's
out?
Quentin Jefferson done? What's Quentin Jefferson done?
You're going to leave McCoy out?
You could send this entire defensive line at Justin Herbert, and there's no offensive lineman, and Justin Herbert will get the pass off.
I'm just telling you yesterday.
I'm very confident.
I sat there at Charger camp, and I saw your offensive line get blown up.
The offensive line didn't get blown up. The only time that they lost was when the second unit was going against Joey Bosa, an actual elite pass rusher in this league that actually does demand a double team. This defensive line is not top 10. I don't think they're top 15. We'll say in between 15 and 20, but I really would have to sit down and look at it. There is not a single person on the defensive line that demands a double team. And then you go into the secondary, I don't think you have a single cornerback that would rank in the top 30 cornerbacks in the NFL right now.
Where'd the Raiders finish last year?
What do you mean? Overall?
Where'd they finish in this division last year?
Congratulations. You guys lost 4 of your last 6 games or something crazy and just ruined the entire playoff.
Last 6 games and still we're the second best team in this division, and you're going to knock them.
I mean, yeah, I am knocking them because they're going to be stinky this year. Anyways, let's move on to the highlight player. Tony.
Highlighted player.
Talk about Henry Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs. I want this player to work out, not only because I drafted him on one of my fantasy teams, and I probably will get more of him because he's going pretty late. Like Joe said, he put on some muscle. I was watching the training camp live on the NFL Network. He still looked really fast when he was out there moving, which is great news for him. But the Raiders also have to hit on some of these early offensive picks, right? The only one I can remember of recent memory was Amari Cooper, but he was not a Gruden guy, so he was gone. But I guess Jacobs, I'll take that back. Jacobs is also a good player. But I want to see the receivers. I want to see this receiver in particular, like, fill that void that Nelson Aguilar left, right? Like, and maybe even go beyond that, like be a 1,000-yard receiver and give Derek Carr like another weapon on the outside. And maybe that is Bryan Edwards. Maybe I'm highlighting the wrong player. Like, I've seen comments from people, whatever, that Bryan Edwards is Terrell Owens. I'm going to need to see some evidence of that in a real game action before I can get on that train. But I picked Henry Ruggs as the player that I want to see live up to being drafted as early as he was and really producing for the Raiders this year.
I'm glad you picked Henry Ruggs because the 12 pounds of muscle that he gained in the offseason was a much larger gain to the Raiders team than John Brown and Willie Snead combined. John Brown and Willie Snead are such great additions. They're going to help out this receiving corps so much, but the depth chart was released yesterday, and they're both second stringers. Not even the top 3 receivers. They're not going to touch the field. Anyway, if they can make it healthy into the season. I chose Darren Waller simply because of this. Darren Waller is the only player on this entire roster, include the 93, this entire 93-man roster that would start on the Los Angeles Chargers right now. Go ahead, Joe. Talk about
well, I thought you forgot Daniel Carlson would actually start on the chart.
Okay, Daniel Carlson, the kicker also. Give him to Congrats. I should add him to the graphic.
Yeah, don't be leaving him out. I'm going with Jonathan Abram. Jonathan Abram needs to produce a little bit more. He's that high energy guy, but he makes a lot of plays where he's out of position or his high energy takes him too far and he gets a dumb penalty or something. I'm hearing that they're reeling him in this year. Casey Hayward's been working with them as the veteran. They brought in Carl Joseph. They brought him back to reel in Jonathan Abram. You don't hear him in the media no more because Abram was going on a tour of like all these media shows. He's kind of calmed down. He needs to produce. And especially being that safety, they brought him in. And John Gruden and Mike Mayock and the whole Raiders organization is calling this secondary out. They've been calling them out all offseason. They said that they've wasted they used so many draft picks on this back end of the secondary that they want to see production. So there's already a little bit on their shoulders back there, but Jonathan Abram is the main guy that people want to see from. Jonathan Abram was that second first-round pick, when they took Jacobs, and then they took Abram in that same draft. They want to see some production from him. Raider fans want to see it. We love the high energy. We want to see great safety play. We want to see you actually produce back there.
Wasted was the right word. Wasted was the right word.
I almost put him as my player to watch too, because I remember watching him in Hard Knocks, and a lot of the talk was this guy he lays the wood. He does all this stuff, which is fine. You want somebody who can make big plays. But now in this current NFL, I don't necessarily know that that's the best thing that you want, because there's more often penalties. Like, what I want is a smart, heady, athletic guy back there in the center of the defense who's going to be able to make plays, not obviously not calling the defense, but just sort of being that like really reliable spot back there. And I didn't watch a lot of Raider games, but I didn't necessarily see that when I did, and when he was out there and healthy.
Yeah, that's the thing with him. He's always been a player with high potential, but his window to reach that high potential and actually be what the Raiders need him and want him to be is closing very quickly, to a point where he's only got, this year, maybe next year. And then they're going to be looking at other options.
This is year 3, right?
I'm not sure what year. What year is this?
Year 3.
Year 3. Yeah.
So he missed his rookie season, and he only played one game his rookie season, played all of last year. So basically last year was his rookie season because of the miss. We'll see how it goes. But keep that same energy on safety talk, Mike.
Oh, you're talking about Nas Adderley? I love Nas Adderley and Derwin James. But anyways, where I was going with it is my comp for him and what he can be, which is not a bad thing. Kareem Jackson. Kareem Jackson has perfected being a hard-hitting safety in this era. He can still drop back into coverage, but he also lays the hat. I think that's what Jonathan Abrams can be if he can get those coverage skills on par at least. They don't even need to be amazing because he makes big plays with his shoulder pads, no doubt.
Look, yes, horrible defense last year, and they still put up some wins and still took second place in the division. Just defensive upgrades this year is good enough, Mike. Just Raiders defense, all they got to do is be better than top 20, be in the top 20 this year, and you're going to put wins on the board. You're going to help that offense out. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, they're going to win some games. They're going to win 5. Oh, spoilers.
Spoiler. Let's move on to the Chargers.
You've been waiting for this. Tony, any last things? I saw you were kind of edging.
Nope. I'll keep it. I'm good. I'll talk about that when we go over our records.
I have a question. Why are we talking about the Chargers last? Best for last? I mean, that makes sense.
Honestly, I don't know. That was a real loop for me. I wasn't sure about what was going on. Mike, why don't you hit the key arrivals departures graphic? Here we go.
Got you, Tony. Key departures. Casey Hayward just talked about him. Went to Las Vegas. He's gonna have a great time there. Melvin Ingram. Towards the end of his career, he was a big player in this Chargers defense for a decade, damn near. He's heading to Pittsburgh along with Trey Turner, a guy who just never saw the field with us. Just crazy that we signed him. Gave me so much hope. I was so excited for him to come in. And he literally played like 20 total snaps with us before we let him go after one terrible season. And then, of course, Hunter Henry, the big one, the tight end, heading to New England to help them out. Then we look at the key additions. And you notice my voice gets a little louder and gets a little bit happier because the Chargers went to work this year. You see the first 4, Lindsley, Slater in the draft, Filer in free agency, Abushi in free agency, completely new offensive line. Brian Bulaga will be back this year, and he's a Pro Bowl level tackle when he could stay healthy. And they also drafted Asante Samuel Jr. in the second round, who we just recently saw in person, and he looked pretty good. And, of course, Jared Cook is replacing Hunter Henry, and he's replacing Hunter Henry well. Both me and Tony saw it at that scrimmage this weekend. Guys, thoughts? Chargers.
Oh, you want thoughts? Before you guys talk, you want to know why we went Chargers last? Because I'm bringing in somebody. You guys think you guys know Chargers? I'm bringing in somebody.
Well, he's not going to be on your team, Joe. Fernando Ramirez.
I know he's not on my team, but I saw Fernando there, and who better to get to know the Chargers than this guy right here?
When Mike said he looked really good, I thought he was trying to prep me in and throw me in there. I was like, oh, wow, Mike said I look good. Thank you. I appreciate that. But he was talking about somebody else, I guess. Thanks, Mike.
I was talking about Gilbert. I mean, Asante Samuel Jr.
Trash. Gilbert. God. Get better heroes, Mike. So what kind of crap is Morley talking over here?
He said that the Raiders defense is going to be top 5. I don't know what he's on.
Bottom 5?
Hey, okay.
Bottom 5 sounds better.
We're on the Chargers right now. I told Mike was talking a lot of stuff about Jonathan Abram right now, and that it was a make or break year.
That kid's good.
Okay. I said to keep that same energy when we got to the Chargers and we talked about a safety from the Chargers. Derwin James. Does he need to stay on the field?
Does he need to stay on the field? I mean, obviously he needs to stay on the field.
When did the Chargers move on from him? If he gets hurt again, when did the Chargers move on?
This guy. No, I mean, you have to. Man, you're already sending him to the IR. I mean, relax a little bit. Hey, I'll tell you one thing. Today, Brandon Staley told us that a lot of the players aren't going to be playing during preseason this year. So that was the first. I mean, Staley's come in here. He has a plan. He knows exactly what he wants to do with each player. He said veteran players won't play. He didn't say Joey Bosa because we forgot to ask him, but Joey Bosa's probably on that list. Justin Herbert won't play. I think it's a little bit of, hey, we want these guys healthy, ready to go week 1. But also it's, hey, we don't want to show off our new offense and our new defense. We want to wait a little bit until Washington and do it then. But I really think when you talk about Derwin James, yeah, it's just been freak accidents. I mean, I've been there for both. Both were just 2 like dumb plays in his rookie year. I mean, he was making plays like that flying around, and he was knocking guys out. So I really do think that no matter what, they're going to keep Derwin because they know how talented he is. Look at Jason Verrett. The Chargers moved on from Jason Verrett, and then look at him now with San Francisco. Now he's basically back to being a Pro Bowl corner the way he was. So I'm sure the Chargers won't give up on Derwin. But hey, to be honest, Derwin looks good. He looks very good. He last year, I think he only had a 6-pack. Now he has an 8-pack. And the only reason why I tell you that is because the dude flashes he has his jersey tucked underneath his pads. So he likes to show off that 6-pack or that 8-pack.
Well, he works hard for it, so there's no reason not to. Like it's
Exactly.
a little bit of a moneymaker for him. And
like Joe and I work hard for our figures. We're going to show it off too.
I show off my pig all the time. Like, here you go. That's what you guys get.
Can't wait for the calendar shoot, Joe. It's going to be beautiful.
The Compas and Warzone Sports Network calendar coming out soon.
OnlyFans.
Wow.
Tony, go ahead and do your breakdown. Let's see if Fernando agrees with you on the Chargers.
Oh, you want my thoughts on the team?
Yeah.
So last year I watched this team more than anything else, more than any other team. This is my first year, like with a declaration of being a Chargers fan, right? And the things that I saw that were like extremely frustrating, or I would call my brother-in-law, and we would sort of laugh about because he's a big Chargers fan, was the clock management at the end of games, was the decision. Like I would call him and I would be like, did Justin Herbert really just run out of bounds? Like, why are they even running? What's going on with this play? Like who's doing it? And he would lose his mind. He would be going nuts about stuff. And then a lot of it was like field goal kicking, but that's kind of been the woes for them going all the way back into San Diego, was like sort of this snake bitten franchise. I really like all the moves they made this offseason. I think like one of the things that I like to see is when you have a franchise quarterback that you go out and you solidify an offensive line with studs. And I think that they really did that. I think that the defense is starting to come together. You hire a defensive coach who clearly was able to do some nice things while he was with the Rams. And if a lot of these guys can stay healthy that have been a little nicked up over the years, James, I want to see Mike Williams have a big year. Even if he's going to go and get paid somewhere else, like just one last hurrah, go, 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns this year and just blow it up on your way out the door and really get, a bunch of money from somewhere else, if that is going to be the case. And I like the Jared Cook. He looked nice the other day when we were at Fan Fest. So I like that fill in there. And again, I was unfortunate to see Hunter Henry's already banged up in New England again, it just sucks to see. But I'm very excited about the Chargers this year, and some might say overexcited based on my record prediction.
Well, I think you have it spot on. I mean, clock management was the thing that, I'll tell you one thing. A lot of people blamed Anthony Lynn for it. If anything, Anthony Lynn should be blamed for is being too loyal to certain coaches. I'll leave it at that. There were some coaches that made some bad calls late in those games, like in Buffalo when he did a quarterback sneak. I mean, you're already going to lose that game, but why the hell would you do a quarterback sneak with only 3 seconds left on the clock, or I think it was 8 seconds left on the clock? So that was poor management, yes. When you come to kicking's been a problem since Nate Kading, and even when Nate Kading was here, it was really a problem. Nate Kading missed that field goal against the New York Jets in 2004, I believe, and then he missed those 3 against the Jets. Oh my God, both of them against the Jets. A couple of years later in 2009, when rest in peace, Vincent Jackson was arrested that night, and then the night before, then Philip Rivers had to go, I think, bust him out of jail, and it was just a crapshoot. Then you look over at what was it? That guys need to stay healthy. Yeah, no, definitely. Jared Cook, when you say that, Jared Cook has looked very impressive. Jared Cook has been flying around. It seems like he doesn't age. So I really do think that he's going to do a lot of good things this year. They're also mixing in Donald Parham at tight end. He's a 6'8" guy who has incredible speed. So yeah, no, if Derwin is able to stay healthy, if this team's able to stay healthy, they're going to be a lot better. The only thing is that first game is going to be a real indicator of how this team is going to be, just because that's when you're really going to get to see Derwin back on the field. Is the Chris Harris Jr. and Derwin James? I wrote this on SI.com. Go check it out. /Chargers. That Derwin and Chris Harris Jr. are going to be positionless players. They're going to be all over the field. Joe and Mike saw a little bit of that the other day when they were at practice. So it's going to be really interesting. And then obviously the offensive line has to keep up for Justin Herbert. I mean, Keenan's wide open. Like literally there's times where like Justin turns to Keenan and goes, I can't throw it to you every single time during practice. So So I definitely think that Herbert's going to take that next step. The other thing is I hope fans don't get on him if he just has almost the identical stats of last year, because that's still a great year. I mean, I know he had it last year, but I hope fans aren't like thinking he's going to have 50 touchdowns and like only like 10 picks, which I mean, honestly, I wouldn't put it past that. He would have a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes second season. But yeah, if guys stay healthy and Brandon Staley's plan works the way it seems like it's taking shape right now of resting guys like Brian Bulaga, Corey Linsley, Limbaugh Joseph, they don't need to take unnecessary shots. They don't need to do any of that. So why play them in the preseason? They're going to wait till week 1. And like I said, I think there's a little wrinkle. I think there's some sprinkles, something there that they don't want to show, and they want to wait till week 1. So I definitely think it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting, but I see a certain individual right there shaking his head a lot. So I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. I think he's one of those Raider fans that thinks every year, oh, like Cowboy fans, this is our year. We're gonna get it. We're gonna go. John Gruden, Chucky. That Chucky's 10 years removed from the league. He doesn't know what today's NFL is like.
That's what I'm talking about.
He should go back to the booth. He was making about his same amount of money being in the booth. Why would you go back to this franchise? Like, I mean, I guess he wanted to move to Vegas. I mean, he's gonna take a drink. Okay,
you just don't know loyalty. You just don't know loyalty.
Yeah, loyalty. He went to Tampa, and that's when he won the Super Bowl with Tony Dungy's loaded squad. And then Tony Dungy goes to Indy with their loaded squad, and he wins a Super Bowl. So there you go. We're all just joining squad. Hey, maybe Brandon Staley joins a loaded Charger squad and he turns them into. No, I'm not gonna go that far. I think they're a year away. I think that if you would ask me, I would tell you the Chargers are a year away from really being up there with Kansas City and Baltimore. Can they beat them? Maybe. I mean, any given Sunday, if that movie taught me anything, is that anything can happen. But I still think the Chargers are about a year away from really being out there and being the one of the top dogs in the conference.
I'm with you. And that's why I've been preaching that this year for the Chargers is a growth year. It'll be awesome to see us hit the playoffs, win a playoff game. But anything more than that is not really an expectation for me. I just want to see everyone on the team grow so we can have one more great offseason. We're in a good salary cap situation. The Chargers have positioned themselves to sincerely make a push in 2022, 2023.
Joe, you're gonna have neck problems in a couple of years. You know that? You're over here shaking your head constantly. You're gonna have a neck brace. It's gonna be. I don't know.
I'm shaking it. It's my chins are holding it down. It's just like
like a bobblehead.
It just keeps bouncing off. But look, we can get into our highlighted players. Michael, pull that up right here.
It's like we all are connected somehow here. We talked about all these guys. Go ahead, Tony.
It's like the Three Stooges.
For me, my highlight is the kicking, and I was joking with you guys in a chat or somewhere where I said that I'm gonna get a wishing well, put it next to the sofa, and every time they go for a field goal, I'm throwing coins into it, because when we were sitting there watching at FanFest, it was just like, oh, this is what it looks like in real life. It's the same thing, like it's just wide this way, wide that way, the same thing back and forth. And it really is the difference between winning so many games. Like last year's team was 7-9. They probably should have been 10-6, right? Like they were winning, like could have won a lot of games if they would have had a few things ironed out. And the kicking is one. Obviously, they're not going to be able to like get the magical guy right now, but just whoever it is, please make 78%, 85% of your field goals from inside 45 yards.
Well, the only problem is too is that like if you look at like there's still a lot of questions with this team. I mean, and the thing is the question just got extended into week 1 because they're not going to play any guys during preseason. So I mean, one of the questions is, will Herbert ascend? Can the offense, and like you guys said, can the guy stay healthy? That's a huge question too. Will Brandon Staley's plan work? That's another thing. That they're going to need to do too is make sure if this really is going to work, if the defense, and then the biggest question I think is Joe Lombardi. Is he completely over what happened to him in Detroit? Has he settled down? Did he really learn a lot in New Orleans? Can he come in here and really command this offense? They have like literally all three AFC West teams have questions about them except for one, and that's Kansas City because they're the reigning team. The only question I have about Kansas City is their defense, but other than that, I mean, we know exactly what Kansas City is, and the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Raiders have a lot of questions about them. But what, Joe? What do you want? What are you gonna say?
I'll say stick around for just a second. We'll get your standing predictions in a second. Let me ask you one question because Mike and somebody just brought it up right now. Mike and I went to Rams training camp. We went to Chargers training camp.
This crap.
We went to Chargers training camp, and there was absolutely nobody there. I mean, if that's what you guys consider a fan base, that's crazy.
The stands were full on a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon, whatever.
Like how many stands did they have at Rams camp?
Joe, you know people work, right?
They had one giant one. It was full. There was probably like 500 people there.
I thought you were going to bring me on here for real questions. You're going to ask me about the stands?
Exactly.
I do have a question for you. Mike and I were wondering this yesterday. Austin Eckler, is he good? Does he always practice off to the side like he was doing yesterday? Because Mike and I were watching that.
What they've been doing with Austin is, and they did it last year. The Chargers did it last year too. They don't need to see anything from Austin. Who they need to see stuff from is Justin Jackson. They need to see what Joshua Kelly is. Which today, Brandon Staley talked glowingly about Joshua Kelly. He feels like he's a guy that can come back. Justin Jackson's had a great camp as well. Then you also have rookie Larry Roundtree. You also have Anthony Lynn's favorite player from last year, Big Boy Darius Bradwell. Remember the guy that had gained a couple of pounds in between mini camp and training camp. So they're getting other guys looks. Austin's going to do his thing on the side. They really asked Austin, hey, can you take a little bit of a step back so that we can get these guys in and we can get these guys showing. So they don't need to see anything from Austin. They know what Austin brings. And I feel like that's why they're giving other guys a chance to make sure that they know exactly what they have in each of their other four backs, especially because of how crucial this is going to be.
And all of you funny boys in the chat and Joe Morley and everyone, go watch our vlog of Chargers Fan Fest. That picture was taken after the event had already ended.
Yeah.
All right. And then when you watch that vlog, come back to me and weep when you see the stand.
Now I'll tell you one thing, Joe. You asked me about the fans. They've sold a lot of season tickets, but this is the thing. We don't know if they're true Charger fans or the normal people in LA. That's the thing is that I don't know anything about that. So I'll say that right now. I don't know if it just, but like the other day, Colin Cowherd said that he and like 8 of his friends bought season tickets to go watch Justin Herbert play. So I feel like that's what's going to end up happening. A lot of people, maybe in LA, maybe if they don't care about the Chargers, hey, I want to go watch Justin Herbert play. If I had my choosing, would I rather go see Justin Herbert play or Matthew Stafford? I probably would say Justin Herbert just because he's younger, he's more flashy. You kind of know what you have with Matthew Stafford. The only thing is that Rams defense would make me want to go watch the Rams a little bit more just because I love watching Aaron Donald, and I think Jalen Ramsey is going to give you at least 3 or 4 trash-talking plays a game. But I do think that it's going to be interesting, and it didn't help Chargers. It didn't help the Chargers at all getting the Cowboys opening weekend, and 2 weeks later you get the Raiders on Monday Night Football.
Well, that's an easy one. But anyway.
I have one last question for him about Chris Rumpf. Like he looked really great the other day. Has he been doing that all the time while you've been there? Like he got like 3-4 touch sacks in that scrimmage.
So what was happening is that Chris Rumpf at the beginning, they kept on talking about how they have to add weight on him. He has to do this, he has to do that. But slowly he's been making it excuse me. He's been making his way onto the first team. He's gotten some first team reps. He got it yesterday, I believe, during 2-minute drill. So he's gotten some more and more playing time. I really do think this is going to be Joey Bosa on one side. The other side is going to be a combination of Kyler Fackrell, Uchenna Nwosu, and I think Chris Rumpf is going to get in there. I really do think that he's long, athletic, he's fast. I think if he put on some weight, though, he could be exactly like Leonard Floyd is for the Rams. Especially because, I mean, we all know that Leonard Floyd broke out last year while Brandon Staley was a defensive coordinator. So I definitely think that Chris Rumpf could maybe end up obviously not this year, but he can make some strides this year. And then next year, he'll play. He'll do a lot better. Same old sports. Do you think we will see Josh Palmer play this year? Oh yeah, that kid is really Tyron Johnson, Jalen Guyton, and some other guys missed some practice time, and you could see him and Justin Herbert developing some chemistry. I'm sorry, Joe. That's your only job here. I forgot to read off the questions. I took your job. I apologize.
You took it away from me.
But Josh Palmer is a guy to watch. I think fantasy owners should really, if you have one more pick left and he's out there and it's your last pick of the draft, Josh Palmer's a guy I would look for just because he's big, he's athletic, he can run routes. I'm not going to say he can run routes like Keenan, but he has very good feet, and then he can jump in the air like Mike Williams can. So Josh Palmer's a guy that fans should be out there, fantasy fans should be looking for because the kid's special. But yeah. Joe, I'm gonna have to take off. So this is very awkward. I'm sorry. I'm making it all awkward. I wanted to say one more thing to you, Joe, but I'm gonna leave it for social media DMs. So.
We're good.
Are you gonna ask me something, Tony, before I head out? Something else?
No, I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate all that information.
Oh yeah, of course.
If
it wasn't for Mike,
bolt up. Oh.
And
I was gonna say if it wasn't for Joe, I wouldn't be on here. I was gonna give you credit, Mike, and be like, if it wasn't for you, I'd be on here. But you sided with Gilbert a couple of minutes ago. I don't forget. So I'm gonna have to.
We're all on the same team here. We're all on the same team here.
No, you guys are awesome. You guys know at any time I'll jump on whenever I can, and you guys are awesome. It was awesome to see you guys on Wednesday. I just see some like big ass dude on the side. I'm like, who? I'm like, oh, it's Joe. I'm like, I gotta go say hi to. I have to go say hi to that guy.
Hey, tell Mike who he missed out on. Who else did I see over there?
Yeah, he told me.
Oh, Rap Sheet.
Yep. See,
Mike,
I told you, Mike.
That traffic killed you, bro.
It did. It really did. And then I found out LT and them were there also.
Oh yeah, LT was there, Rap Sheet, and then everybody was there. Then, real quick, I'll give you something, Mike. I talked to LT real quick, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think about Justin?" He's like, "Man, that kid blows me away every time I watch him play." So that's hey, Joe. You remember LT, right? That was the guy that used to put up 150 and 3 touchdowns on you guys. Like
Fernando Ramirez, everybody. Fernando Ramirez.
See you guys later.
SI.com/Chargers. Check him out, guys. Compo's on the beat. But yeah, there's a little bit Charger info right there for all you guys that came out here. Who knows the division better than him than somebody who actually watches a lot of the games? I appreciate him. He was actually nice, really. Come on, but let's hit your highlights real quick, Mike.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. I get it, Rap Sheet. Anyways, I chose Derwin James. As my highlight player. That is because other than the kid wearing number 10, who's 6'6", 240 pounds, who's running the sideline like a wide receiver, no big deal, just some kid. Other than him, the guy in number 33 is the most important player on this team. He's wearing the green dot, first of all. So he's the captain of this defense. He's calling the plays for this defense. Very rare for a safety to do. It's usually the middle linebacker or the nose tackle or sometimes an edge rusher. Very rarely is it a safety. But also, same old, you're throwing off my take here. I'm trying to clip this. Anyways, but also Derwin James is one of those few very rare talents that can do it all. He can come into the box like a linebacker and play the run. He can go outside and guard Julio Jones. He can go up top and cover the deep middle of the field. He literally can do it all, and I am so excited to introduce Tony. I know Tony knows of Derwin James, but no one's seen the guy play in 2 years. This guy's talent is not top 3 safety in the league. It's not, top 1 safety in the league. This guy's talent is top 10 player overall in the league potential, and I truly believe in that to my core. He's my favorite player right now in the NFL.
Yeah, and I'm with you on Derwin James. I want to see a lot of them. I like him. Even though I give the Charger fans a hard time, I like to see the potential, and I like to beat teams when they're 100%. Jared Cook is my highlighted player. I just think that him and Herbert, if Cook can come in and be the guy, and I know we say this every time he goes to a new team. He's been like the Packers, the Raiders, the Saints. He could catch a lot of touchdowns. Just hold on to the ball. You're going to open up this offense. He's going to help Herbert out a lot. That's why I put him as my highlighted player, because I can see him. If we can get him if the Chargers can get him the ball, it's going to open up a lot more. So it's going to be all right.
I love that take, Joe. And I think that if Jared Cook can stay healthy, he's going to match or do better. And especially what I've been seeing in camp and during these things that we've been attending, he's going to put up the same or even more production than Hunter Henry, which is crazy.
All right. Let's get into our final predictions here. We're going to run through these a little quicker than we normally would. Got a few minutes left. I will start with mine. My final predictions are the Broncos finishing 7-10. Like I said, that record would actually be higher if you told me that Teddy Bridgewater was going to be the starter from day one, but I don't actually believe that's going to be the case. The Raiders at 9-8. I have them going above 500 this year. I don't think that this team is nearly as bad as everybody else does. And I think that also Derek Carr needs to really show that he's willing to take chances, not afraid to fail, but that will help him succeed. We just talked about the Chargers. And like I said, they could have been 10-6 last year with a few different things happening for them. And I think that those things are going to be sealed up. So I have them being on the cusp of being a playoff team, and the Chiefs at 12-5. I think that's pretty fair. I wanted to maybe go 13-4, but I still think that this team reigns supreme overall in this division.
Yeah, I think that's actually, if you look across everyone, that's actually kind of a low win prediction on the Chiefs. And I think you're accounting for this is just going to be a competitive division, and they actually can beat them. Yeah, we'll talk about Alex Robinson. Don't you worry, same old sports. Anyways, I chose the Raiders to finish last, and that's because the Raiders have the worst roster in this division. There's no arguing about it. There's no talking about it. But I will say that the offense itself can carry them a little bit. So, yes, I'm a little low on them. This is probably my floor here. I'm always going to floor the Raiders and the Washington football team now. But anyways, I could see them winning 8 games. I could see them winning 9 games, maybe. We'll see. But then I got the Broncos above them because other than the quarterback, I think the Broncos across the board are better. They got a better defense. They got a better offense than the Las Vegas Raiders. They should be better than the Las Vegas Raiders this year. And if Teddy Bridgewater gets in there, I feel very comfortable with a 9-8 win projection. It just depends on what happens with Drew Lock. Got the Chargers going 11-6. Call me biased because I am. And then we got the Chiefs at number 1 at 15-2. They're just such a great team, man. And when I sat down and looked at the schedule, the only games they really have to worry too much or panic too much about losing, they play the Bills, they play the Colts, the Ravens, and then the division. I mean, that's really it. That's the brunt of their schedule. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wanted to give the Chiefs a couple more losses, and I'm looking at their schedule like, no, there's absolutely no way. I gave them 4, which is nice. Me and Tony's standings are actually pretty close. I mean, I can see the Chargers winning 10 games. Yeah, if all goes good, we're about right there. Me and Tony are about the same. I just put the Raiders above because that's when my bias comes out, is when I have to do the standings. Yeah, but this division, like we're saying, is really close. Alex Robson's standings are just horrible. I mean, 17-0, but you're giving the Chargers 12 wins. Like, okay, where do you get those 12 wins if you're not going to beat at least the Kansas?
That means 2 of the Chargers' losses are to Kansas City. You're telling me the Chargers only lose 3 other games the entire NFL season. I'll take it. I would love it. I mean, I've only got them winning 1 less than that, but of course, I'm a biased fan who's going to hype this up. What is more crazy? Alex saying the Jets are going to go 8-9 or the Chiefs are going 17-0. I don't think it may be like right away, right off the bat, be like, oh, the Jets going 8-9, but I don't think anyone viewing or understands, or Alex even understands what 17-0 means. He's predicting this team to be the best to ever do it, or one of the top 3 best to ever touch the field.
What 17-0 is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's 15 wins is crazy to me too, because like they play in a lot of close games, and you have to, like, it's every week. Like, look how competitive the Raiders played them, and now they're gonna have to play the Chargers. Like, the one thing that I said was that you have to have the offense to be able to stay with them, right? And I think Las Vegas can stay with them. I think the Chargers can stay with them, and they'll play a lot of those games where they're going to be tighter. It's going to be tougher on a week-to-week basis. But yeah, we're going to have to pull Robson aside and start telling him that he's got to shave these graphics in both. There were 4 wins for the Broncos with that defense. Get out of here. You know how hard it is to win in Mile High, Robson? What is he smoking? What in the blue hell? What in the blue hell is Alex Robson smoking?
We still love you, Alex. We have 59 comments right now coming to the comment section because of you, so thank you.
Yes. Right. Love it. All right, let's wrap up the show. Tomorrow night we have Friday Night Wars with Mike and Joe. Also, like, I don't know, I've been itching to do some fantasy. I might break that out at some point this weekend where I just sit down, we go over all of the stuff that's been going on in these preseason games. We get to take a look at it. Shorts coming out on a daily basis. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube, follow on Twitter, wherever you're watching us, Facebook, whatever. We appreciate all the love. We will be back tomorrow, right? First show is Friday Night Wars tomorrow night.
We'll be back.
Somebody hit that funky music.
Then we on the radio, coming to your locale. Got into the third round, better bring the smoke now. Step into the war zone.